Yo, what's up, everyone? This is Jack. Appreciate y'all clicking on this episode. This is episode 29, featuring Jonathan Swearingin. He is a real estate agent for Monument Realty. Look in the show notes. Hit him up. Honestly, I learned so much during this episode, and I feel like it's a great episode for young people trying to gain a better perspective on home buying. So, yeah, it was a great conversation. It was me, Johnny, and Ahmed, and we got into it about a lot of stuff, the state of the market, best time to buy a home, like what's the point of an agent, like why should you even get one, and he really broke it all down. He's got 33 ways for you to get out of a contract if need be, so that's just another thing that will help you decide to choose him as your broker when you decide to get that home, or you decide to sell. So thank y'all again for listening. This episode is sponsored by Robinson Training Company. Hit up my brother Ben on Instagram at Robinson Training Co. for all your personal training needs. You can do remote sessions as well. He's in Nashville, Tennessee. If you're out there, you can get a in-person session. I'd recommend it. Follow the YouTube channel at The Incredible JOJ. This is where the full episodes are going to be uploaded in video format, as well as small clips too on the Instagram channel at The Incredible JOJ. Soon we're gonna have Kat Soto, tattoo artist, on next, so be on the lookout for that. Thank you. Enjoy. Yo, go listen to Ahmed's new album, War Ready, on Spotify, Apple Music. It's a great album. My favorite songs are Elevate and Blanco Bianco, which is the background for this whole intro. So y'all go support him, and it's a great album. And that's one of the things that I appreciate about Ahmed is he's putting himself out there and following his passions. So do him a solid, stream the album. If you like it, give him some praise, man. Shout him out.
That's my sign. This universe is space and time. So if I give you my space, bitch, don't waste my time. And for my girls at 18, with a mind like 45. When you turn 23, we gon' ball like 45 for them bulls. And if I got a chance to get you that ring, we going 6-0, baby. We gon' never lose. Her older brother, drug dealer. He hang around them killers. He got like 5 guns and he got like 5 hitters. But I'm a born winner, a Saint Laurent sinner. Black ice and frozen pipes spin through the coldest winter. Excuse me, I'm trying to be the GoPro. Cuts up on my neck, you can see I'm fucking cut though. See so many slip when they try to check the slope, bro. Sit back, inhale the smoke, bro. I say 3, 2, 1, don't waste my time. I'm kinda out of my mind. I look up in the night, I see the stars, they aligning, that's my sign. This universe is space and time. So if I give you my space, bitch, don't waste my time, ho. When I'm in my prime, I wanna be just like Huncho. I need a yacht in Italy on Lake Como. Met this girl, she's half white and tan. I call her Blanco Bianco.
We'll really start it when you
Started.
Yeah. All
right, welcome to the JOJ episode 29. Jonny Swearingin
Sweet.
came through, and we got Ahmed over here.
What's going on?
Yes, sir.
We're here to talk real estate, business, everything, but I just want to say thank you for coming.
Yeah, man. Thank you for the opportunity. Appreciate that.
Yeah, man, we're going to get into a lot of stuff. Kind of want to start off with the Federal Reserve. I know that's a really trendy topic.
Yeah.
But
They control the whole economy.
They do.
Oh, yeah. That Jerome Powell's got a lot of power. But basically, the Fed increased their rates. It was 0.25, nearly zero, beginning of 2022. And now it's up to 4.5, 4.75%. And it's going to keep going, honestly.
Yeah.
And so basically, what does this mean?
What does this mean?
And I just wonder because...
Yeah, so, I mean, I can give you a little bit about it.
Tell me, Johnny.
With the interest rates rising, so what that percent going up is for the feds is the bank-to-bank transfers. So that's what's increasing, and that trickles down to, hey, okay, banks are paying more, because before banks really, paid nothing to move money. Now it's being charged to move money, so they're saying, all right, well, now we gotta account for that, and so we make sure
So now the banks have to get a cut.
Yes.
So
yes.
what's
So,
like the typical rate for, like a home nowadays? What are you seeing?
Yeah, so there's ways around it, but right now we're seeing, I mean, it kind of just went up. It went up to about 6.75, and it dropped down to 6.5, but now we're seeing it just peak just a little bit more up. So they're kind of playing with it, but it was the first time we saw it go down because it was at 3 and it skyrocketed to 7. It hit 7 and then it came down a little bit to 6.5, but now we're seeing it kind of go back up. So they're playing with it right now to see what's the healthy rate for the market is.
The Fed? You're talking about the Fed?
The Fed,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, the Fed is raising it. And they're kind of playing with it to see, okay, oh, we raised it to 7. Oh, that fourth quarter was cold. Okay, a lot of people got out of the market. But it's also, all the people who could afford that are no longer there. So the new buyers and the new people who are like, hey, there's still a market there. We just need to learn how to play the game. And that's why you need a good agent or an expert in the field.
And that's why we brought you in, man.
Yeah.
So how long have you been doing?
I've been in the industry for about 7 years now. So
Holy crap.
yeah,
I
it
didn't know
seems
that.
like
I love to hear that, bro. I love when
Yeah.
somebody's in the industry for as long as you have, and even when Jack was doing pod for years, and
yeah.
it just makes you so valuable, and you know so many things and bring so much experience to the table.
Yeah, experience that's like you can't put on the paper, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just kind of just going through it. So there's training that you just kind of have to go through. So yeah, I mean I've been in a particular situation where the past 3 years I've been licensed, but I started early on and just worked my way up basically and realized, okay, this is, real estate's one of the top 3 assets that people are going to hold. It's the one that holds the strongest year to year. It's trusted. I've got buyers who are getting out of the stock market, throwing it into real estate because they understand, it might not move as fast as the stock market, but it's still moving, right? Like
Yeah, for many people I talk to, real estate is the final goal. You make your money.
Yeah.
You can do stocks short term, but the final goal is to invest in rental properties and investment properties. Real estate is the final stage in my opinion, and for a lot of people, I feel as well.
I agree. I mean, at
100%.
least everybody who invests at a high level, they've got some sort of real estate portfolio, right?
Yeah.
They might not be solely in real estate, but everybody's got some of that because, land, especially in the United States, you buy land, it's yours. Other countries, they say it's yours, but hey, they might swap it real quick. But yeah, that's why, we see a bunch of international buyers and investors moving in.
Yeah.
So yeah, real
And the
estate's-
thing about land too in real estate, you can't print more of it,
Nope.
And so that's
Nope.
exactly what the Fed did this whole
It's
time.
not a cryptocurrency. Yeah, you can't add that number. Yeah, it's real. Yeah.
So do you anticipate any rate drops at all during 2023?
So that's a great question.
That's
a great
the $1 million question.
Because that's what everybody wants to know, right? And it's like if I had
Tell me yes.
man, I wish I had a magic ball, right?
Yeah.
And I could just tell you because there's so many different aspects that really affect it. But from my experience and seeing kind of where it's at, in the last 40 years, we haven't seen interest rates double in a year. Last 50 years.
Right.
We've never seen this, right? So just like we've never seen COVID. So they did that to artificially spike it. Now, if you look at what the interest rates were pre-COVID, they were actually around 5.5%. And so most people think 3% is where it needs to be, where it's always been. It's like, no. They dropped it. And that's why the market ended up just on fire because
Rallying.
it made it affordable for everybody. And they're like, hey, we need people to move. And really what it made it affordable for is all the people moving from out of state. They really saw that opportunity. It's like, okay, I can sell and capitalize and get the most money here and then buy really cheap with the low rate in Texas. And it makes sense. And that's where all the businesses started moving.
You said
here.
out of state
Buyers. Yeah. They started.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah, you sell your house for $1 million, you come down and buy a $500,000 house
And
for
the
cash.
house is quality wise, it's up there as well.
And you don't even have to worry about the interest rate, if you're paying cash. That's another conversation.
And there's no state income tax in Texas.
That's right. That's right.
So in my
There's
industry,
property tax, and that's kind of how we counter it.
That's
But
right.
there's Greg Abbott, apparently, he's really backed by the Realtors Association because apparently he's going to be putting a lot of that and cutting a lot of property taxes.
That'd be amazing.
It will be amazing.
That
Yeah,
would be
because
amazing.
it is a problem. It's kind of going up.
Yeah, at my parents' house, it went up I think 30% in value. think this last tax assessment. It's crazy what's happening.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
there's so many people coming in, like even in my industry, appraisal, commercial real estate, we're seeing people come in from California, out of state,
Yeah.
purchasing all the property, and they have, they got a lot of money over there. They come in,
do.
they
They do,
outbid
man.
people.
They
I'm
do. It
sure
was a
you've seen a lot of that.
So yeah, I'd like to talk on that because
Let's do it.
that was I'm happy with where the market's at now. Like, it might be a little crazy to say, but it's like, as far as health wise and growth for the market is so necessary.
It cut out all the weekends and the people who shouldn't be here, and like, I feel like that's what raising the interest
definitely
rate
did
does.
that as well, man. Like, it definitely, if it was
It cleaned up the market. It cleaned up the market.
It did. It made it to where you can actually make a deal versus, I was seeing offers on homes for 20 offers on one home, 15 to 20%, if not sometimes 30% over asking price, right?
Bruh.
And that's percent wise, that's a lot on a house. If we're talking 500,000,
100%.
yeah, they're bringing so much more cash, and you're competing against every buyer. That's not the case in this market. This market, you've got a great chance of, hey, all right, does the interest rates right though, right? So the payment, everybody just wants to make sure their payment is where they want it to be.
They're going to get that cash money.
That's the main concern.
That is it. Hey, is my payment the same as my rent, right?
Yeah.
That's what they're looking at. If it makes sense, then absolutely I'm going to put equity in my pocket. I just worked with a buyer, and because of COVID, it became a great opportunity for people who own homes because their house skyrocketed in value. So it's like, okay, I can sell this first house I got and capitalize on 50, 60 grand and buy a new house. And so you got, but if you had rented those 3 years, where'd that 50 grand go? You don't have it.
Down the drain.
Yeah. It went into someone else's pocket. So, I don't hate renting either. Like, renting's great. It's necessary, right? Because obviously investors, like, you got to own land. Everybody has to live somewhere, but it just depends on like your situation, right? So
I want to contrast that too, because like you said, during COVID, the home prices were at their peak, right? People wanted to buy them. Kind of the sellers maybe had the most leverage, would you say?
Yeah.
Great time to sell.
And
It was a great time to sell.
Now what's happening is the money supply is tightened. And then so there's artificially less demand.
Yeah. The sellers
are kind of like,
well, the sellers
I should have got rid of this.
They've got a rate, right? They've got a locked in rate. If they bought 2 years ago, they got a 3% rate. Why would they sell and go get a 7% rate? Doesn't make sense. So that's what's happening.
Okay.
A lot of sellers who just moved in or have a lower rate than what it is now, they're like,
I'm chilling.
well, my payment, I might capitalize on the equity, right? But is my payment, can I afford this new payment on another house?
Yeah.
So I think everyone asks, like, what's the right time to buy, right? Like, is it a good time to buy now? Should I wait 3 months and interest rates come down a little bit? And I just turn around and I say, hey, is it a right time to buy for you? Like, what's your situation? Because
That's powerful.
I'm working with buyers, man. I'm working with sellers. Like, there's people who have to sell, people have to buy, and there's people who don't, but they realize they don't have to fight off 20 other buyers. So it's like, okay, now I can just talk to the seller and we can work something out, and maybe it's worth it, right? So yeah,
I think the real winners here when it comes to interest rates are the ones who did lock in the interest rates and lock in the rates.
Yeah.
In like 2022, before we saw the big spike and the market started falling,
Yeah.
the stock market and the real estate market. I think the real winners are the people who did lock in the rates at a very low rate. Looking back at the history, I think you had it pulled up here.
Yeah, let me pull it up. My friends, they got a house like right before all this stuff, the interest rates started rising. They're sitting nice and happy.
Yeah,
right now.
and doesn't that make you feel good, man? Like,
it's crazy to think about it because you would have the same property, but your payment would be double. Like,
yeah,
and
that's why there's so many buyers in the market.
Yeah.
Because it's like people who could never afford at 5%. It's like,
hey,
hey,
I can afford it now.
I can afford now.
Yeah. That's why there were so many buyers in the market a couple like months ago, maybe a year ago.
Yeah, I'd say 6 months ago, man. We really saw the change. I saw the change personally in July.
Yeah.
At like July, mid-July. It was when that right there was when I felt it, like those rates really hit people.
Yeah.
And it went with the flow of real estate market too. During that fourth quarter, it goes down a little bit, but it really, And
like the interest rates, like the Fed has never really hiked interest rates at a pace like that they've been doing it.
Never.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I did a.
This is crazy.
It's interesting. If you want, pull up Freddie Mac. Yeah, Freddie Mac's interest rates in the past 50 years, 40 years.
And the interest rates is basically the backbone of the economy, especially for any assets that are borrowing, like when it comes to cars or homes. Like, you borrow money, and if the Fed is raising rates and that affects the cost of borrowing, like, you know.
Everybody, like, we are a society and culture of debt, you know, and everybody has some sort of debt. If you don't know how to work the game of debt, like all the smart investors, they use debt to their
good debt and bad debt.
Right. But you're going to have debt, right?
Yeah.
In this case, like, unless you're just balling on cash, you don't need it.
You got that income.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's.
This 2000 right here, 8%, 8.2.
This is amazing.
So this is what I wanted to show.
30 year.
If you look at that, 2000, it looks like they. Why is it at 8%? Who's buying there? Now, prices, you got to also take into account the home prices, right? Home prices were cheaper.
Okay.
Right? But it's still also, like, you got to look at your payments on that because it's different, you know, 8% on 200,000 versus 400,000.
Yeah. It goes down to 5.45. This is 2003. I mean, then it kind of continually drops.
Where was that in 2008 when the crash happened?
Let's see right here.
Yeah, so it's still pretty high.
Where am I at?
Yep. So it was still around 5%.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now, when I was in college, I did an accounting degree. And it's funny because every time I talk to someone who gets a finance degree, they're like, bro, accounting, how'd you do it? It was so difficult. But then I tell them, like, how'd you do finance? Like, that was the hardest class for me in college. Because for me, it's like this stuff. I'm so grateful to have you here because I feel like a lot of people, especially our age, will learn something from this episode.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. I'm
like
still
a lot of
learning
this
the
stuff
game
is
too. I gotta tell, like, people. I get
take my money.
I work with new clients, man, and they're you know older than me most of the time, and they're like, hey, how old are you? Like, they double check.
They
and
test.
I give them my background. I'm like, look, I've got the experience.
No, at the end of the day, bro, like that's the name of the game. Like, especially people our age, like, we're always gonna be learning, right?
Yeah.
But you gotta have the confidence to know that you can, you know, get the job done or whatever it is and have that chip on your shoulder.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Jack said, bro, I'm happy that you're here, bro. I know there's some things
bro,
that I can learn.
I'm glad you guys.
I literally just got my real estate license like recently.
Okay.
So I know there's so many things that I can learn and, you know.
Yeah, right on. So are you for residential?
For residential.
And I mean, you can do commercial, right? Yeah. But yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's man. It's good to have. Like I tell some people have asked me like, hey, should I get my license? And I'm like, I mean, if you can afford it, like, you know what I mean? People don't understand there's fees and ongoing costs and
dues,
stuff that you have to. Yeah, there's a lot of dues to be paid, but it's worth it if you're grinding, man. It's so much opportunity.
And we were talking before you got here about just like kind of what I enjoy about my job, and same with you, is it's not the 9-to-5 grind. It's based on how hard you work, and you're basically rewarded on that fact.
Yeah, and it's the relationships I make. Like, that's what I'm doing every day, is just talking to people. You know,
fun. It's kind of fun.
It's a lot of fun, man.
See how far you can take it.
I love it. I love meeting people, and they tell me their stories, and they're from different places, and it's just like, you know, it takes me on the journey, and it's a good time.
So I want to get into first of all, do you work mainly on the buyer side or the seller side?
Yeah, so I used to be listing coordinator, so I completely understand the sales side. But just starting out, that I've switched to go like independent, if you will. I still got my team, but as far as a field agent, just starting out, you work with a lot of buyers, right? Those are easier to get in front of and to work with, especially new time, you know. First time home buyers. That's really what that is. So I recently worked with a lot of buyers. Like last year, I worked with 12 buyers and 1 lease. But this year, I've got 1 buyer, 1 seller right now, and then I've actually got a couple other sellers that are picking up. So in real estate, you want to have good old Gary Keller. I don't know if you've read that. I definitely recommend it though if you're interested in real estate. It's going to be
Gary Keller.
Yep. So Gary Keller is the owner. He's the Keller in the Keller Williams, right? And they're huge. They're internationally
Oh,
That's who I originally was with who my team
That's who you
was
started with, huh?
Yeah, and my brother, shout out to my brother. He was who I worked for.
Shout out Josh.
Shout out Josh too, because he went.
Okay,
he went
different
with me.
brother.
No,
My bad.
He went with me to this though. Yeah, so me and my older brother Danny, he owns a real estate brokerage, and he's the one who got me in. I started working from him ground up.
Your real biological brother?
Half brother, but
Half
yes,
brother.
yeah, we're blood. Yeah, but
Cool.
yep. So I worked for him, and he got us tickets to Gary Keller's mastermind, and he was a part of Gary Keller's top 100 agents at the time because he was high productive, like over 100 homes a year, like small. But so he bought us tickets to go to Gary Keller, and he spoke for 8 hours, man. And I took my phone out and I recorded the whole thing, bro. Like, we took an intermission.
Smart move.
And I just listened to that over and over. But he basically broke it down of, hey, here's why it's smart to get in real estate. And also not real estate, but he talked about lifestyle and growth and the importance of the opportunity it gives you.
Interesting. Wow.
So he's like, hey, you don't want to be working and then party after. Like, let's do some partying, let's do some working, let's do some living,
That's
a
perfect.
balanced lifestyle kind of thing.
That's a good topic I want to talk about too, because I hear a lot of people, and I'm not the biggest partier, and that was one thing I always thought about is like, should I like try to enjoy my 20s like and like party a bunch and all this and like go crazy, or should I like plan out my future and then do that maybe in my 30s, late 30s, 40s? And I wrestled with that a little bit, but I think it's kind of what you said, like work and then party too, or just have like a little bit of a balance.
Yeah, and I mean everybody's different, right? Like it's like what do you want from life, right? Like I know there are people like my aunt. She grinded for the LA library, and now she's on retirement and she's living her life. Like she's
Enjoying life now.
Yeah, rolling in dough, man, and just
Yeah.
vacationing everywhere. And it's like that's one way to do it. For me, I don't want to do that. I'd rather build and party, and it's not so much party, but just have a good time. Do whatever you enjoy to feel like you're alive.
Yeah.
I think it's very important to, like you said, enjoy the moment. Looking back at it, and I'm really not the type to party, even though I do go to parties and stuff like that. Going forward, I want to celebrate. I love when summertime comes and my boys come in town, bro. I want to celebrate. When Jack knocks out his 50th pod, bro, I want to do something. I want to celebrate.
Oh,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, like,
Absolutely.
I feel like moving forward, it's just like...
Yeah, some people see it as
that's a mindset.
Escape, right?
Yeah.
They want to get away, but celebrate is you're enjoying your life, and that's different. That's a different partying. You know what I mean? It's coming from a different place where, you're achieving, you're growing.
That's right, man.
That's important.
You mentioned, so you said Danny, he was an influential part in your
Absolutely,
was
man.
a mentor for you?
Yes.
And you kind of saw how he was doing it, and what were some qualities that you got from him?
Man. So I would say I'm not. I used to be really bad at focus. I would say but he taught me number one, professionalism, man. Especially in the real estate industry, there's not a lot of that. I mean, there's not. There could be more, right? There could be
There's
more.
a lot of casualness.
Yeah, it's very easy to get your license, and everybody knows somebody who has a license.
That's right.
And that's not a dog to getting your license.
Well, I should have got this.
It's about how you use it, right? It's how you go about it. So yeah, with the license, about 30% of people will flip and not have a light. Like I know agents that aren't in the business anymore, and it's because of this last fourth quarter because they got kids to feed. I got my dog to feed, and that's it right now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I can kind of weather a cold storm. Well, no. That's basically my kid. But yeah, he only needs to eat twice a day versus 3.
He's on a diet right now.
Yeah. So, man. But it's such a good opportunity. Like, and I learned professionalism. Like, that was probably the biggest thing. That's why I dress the way I do. Because I know people are gonna, when I'm at a house, they're gonna know I'm the agent versus guessing and that's just me. That's me personally, right? And it's kind of also to tell people, hey, I'm here for business. Like obviously we can keep it cordial, but this is a job, right? And it kind of
I like that a lot. I like that a lot. You just said something great. Like, I'm dressing nice, so when they walk in, they don't ask. They don't they know who the agent is.
Yeah, it's a given.
Yeah.
It's other agents are walking in. You run into them, and they're like, hey, here's the key, kind of thing. Like and of course they double check, but it's like We're
if
judged on
you-
the outer appearance, whether
Yeah.
we want to or not.
That's
Right.
100%. If you
Yeah.
act the part, you know, and I think about it too, like fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
Even though it's not faking it,
Yeah.
but if you just act like that, be
That's
the
right.
person you want to be in life. and
You're faking
you'll
yourself, but
eventually
you're actually
turn
doing
into
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's awesome. I think it's important to talk about the mentors you have in life too. And
Yeah, I
and
will
give
say, man,
praise.
like I definitely kudos to him because like I was gonna stay with him and grow, but there just wasn't a spot for me. I kind of had outgrown it. I was more of an admin on his team.
Mhm.
So like I said, I started listing coordinator, so I was ahead of all. I did the whole process from, getting the house on the market and talking to the sellers, that kind of thing. And he taught me everything. Like
Dang.
yeah.
Shout out Danny.
I think
Shout
it's
out.
I think it's so important to have like a mentor that can
Yes.
teach you, and no matter what it is, whether it's like you said, real estate or whatever, having a mentor that can save you a lot of time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what the biggest thing I've learned like now, and I didn't realize it at the time. It's funny because like they would tell me, oh, you're learning so much, you're way ahead of so many agents who have been doing it for years, is what they would tell me, and I'm still in the office, right? Like I'm just doing stuff, figuring out stuff, like it was I didn't get that till I started actually getting in the field and working with my own clients, and then I was like, oh, yeah, actually. I do know something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, like this is super helpful, but it was, I didn't have to take the heat though.
Yeah.
And that's one thing about having a mentor is you can learn from their mistakes too. Like that's the biggest thing is it's kind of free. And I mean, that's how I take books too. Like you can learn from everybody, right? Like there's something to be had. Yeah.
Absolutely. And we're like, I think I was telling you this, we kind of stand on the backs of giants. Like we learn all this stuff from the people before us, and like a great mentor like I have in my job right now, I've learned so much from him, and it's just a blessing. But I kind of want to talk about real estate cycles.
Okay.
And you mentioned it was like when is the perfect time to buy?
Yeah.
But you're saying it depends on your risk and kind of where you're at in life. What's your monthly payment? What can you make? Is that kind of
What's your income and all that stuff?
For me?
Or just for anyone like our age? Like,
yeah.
I mean, it's basically like there's no real perfect time to buy. It's basically
So
what
everyone
you're
wants to
saying.
time the market, right? And
Hindsight is 2020.
Yeah, right, exactly, man. I mean, yeah, that's so. To tell you the truth, there is an ebb and flow of real estate, and most people know it. Most people, I mean, the springtime, right? Everyone's like, hey, springtime's the time to sell your house, right? So there is about January, but that's the thing is like you might have. All right, so let me break this back. Let's start in January. Let's start a normal year. It slowly in January, February picks up a little bit, and then like March it like evens out to February, and then like April, May, June, July, like boom, 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 boom. Most people are gonna like kids are off out of school, we can move, right?
Okay.
We can do all these moves. Now, don't get me wrong, there's still people still buying. It's just not that pool.
Okay.
So it's like it might be the right time to buy for you in the springtime because your kids are out of school and you can switch schools now. Right? Now,
yeah. It
also
could work out.
counter in the winter, people are locked in their schools and they don't want to move. But sellers, there's people who have to sell and have to move. People have there's life changes all the time, and that's all real estate
100%.
is life changes. And if you understand that, then you'll understand how things work, right? And so yeah, like life changes is a big one. But if you're buying in the fourth quarter and you're buying for a seller who has to sell, there's not as many buyers out there. So you can kind of get a deal, and it's a seasonal buy. So that's what I had is you have to know like how to work it within what season you're in. So yeah, I mean, I tell people like if you need to wait 3 months and you need to rent and you gotta hang on for 6 more months, then go for it. But yeah, it's always the right time to buy for the right buyer. You know what I mean? Like if you got cash, it's a great time to buy right now.
Mm-hmm.
Cash is king.
Cash is king. Yeah.
My dad, he real estate is like the final. He loves real estate. Probably saves all his money, buys as much real estate as he can.
Nice.
And he's like, he told me like I still can't believe it how cheap houses were. I don't know when it was, but like 2010 or 11, like houses were so cheap back in the day, and it's crazy how the prices just skyrocketed. Like
yeah,
The
man.
inflation.
And, Yeah, and we could talk about that. So it does seem like it's kind of high. But honestly,
It is pretty high.
Yeah,
relative to what it was, maybe.
Well,
yes.
yeah.
You got to compare it to locations, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
That's the main thing about real estate, right? Location, location, location.
Yeah, that's
True.
yeah. 3 questions, all answers. Location.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's location's everything. That's why people want to move, right?
Yeah.
So you got to look at it at a bigger scale. I love the market we're in. I like to focus on DFW because like people ask, hey, when's the right time to buy? And I'm like, well, it might not be a good time to buy in these, like in Austin, for instance. Like Austin it was one that overheated. People were paying hundreds of thousands over asking. Those sellers are not going to sell. They have to wait till their home meets that, right? They have to wait till that price creeps up for the $100,000 they overpaid on their house.
Wow.
So like that's also why some sellers aren't selling, because it's like we overpaid because we wanted the house and we wanted to beat out all these other buyers because we needed to move, and it's understandable. But it's like, okay, now they're not going to move. Like they got to stay. You're selling and you're taking less, right? And that's where you see
you take the loss. You take the loss.
You take the loss, yeah. And so I like to focus on DFW, right? DFW is about to surpass, as I think we can double check this. Let's look into the Metroplex, right? DFW is a huge Metroplex. We're about to pass Chicago as the 3rd largest Metroplex. And if you look at the average house for these the big Metroplex like LA and New York, and you look at all of these different ones and what the home price is, we're actually under. So we're just catching up to these major Metroplexes.
So it's still a good time to buy.
Still a good time to buy, bro. Just depends on location, right?
Yeah.
Like there's the market within the market. There's hyper local markets, right? So that's where you need a specialist. You need a specialist to be like, hey, is this the right area? Do I know this is what's building around it, right? So like Arlington, I'm born and raised in Arlington, still live in Arlington. It's in the middle of the Metroplex, right?
Yeah.
So it's 30 minutes for me to get everywhere I need to be.
Great location.
Great.
2 international airports.
You've got an international airport. Yeah, there you go, too. That's right. And you also have the entertainment district. So we've got, and I'm talking about DFW. I'm talking about Arlington, but I'm talking about DFW, right? Because Arlington, though, did just get the XFL. Like, we're the headquarters, I believe, for the XFL.
Choctaw Stadium.
Yeah, Choctaw Stadium.
That's where they're playing,
converted.
I guess.
That's right, yeah. And Arlington Rough Riders, I believe. But you got all these new development, all these new companies coming from other states and making their headquarters in Texas. And that's kind of saying something, like they know Texas is strong. You look at Texas in 2008, we really didn't take a hit like other states did. Other states, it was a problem. But you look at Texas, pretty steady. We took a little bit of a dip, but nothing we didn't recover quickly on.
And
that's
I like what you said. I like what you said about people flocking to Austin, kind of overheated the market. And what people did there was they came to Austin and Texas in general because of kind of the policies during COVID.
That's right.
A lot of people did. And then also that they were looking at, like, if someone lives in California and there was a lot of, unconstitutional stuff going on there. With like mask mandates and all this stuff, and people left, they flocked to Texas, and then they realized they could get,
a better house for less of a price.
Yeah,
without the pressure.
Bigger house, bigger lot, the whole thing without the pressure, and very chill, no income.
You'd be surprised how many people moved because of that. That was the last straw, bro. It's the last straw.
And then Elon Musk. A lot of stuff going on with him, commercial real estate.
Love
in
to
Texas.
talk about that.
Tesla, they took their headquarters out of California, brought it to Austin, Texas.
And so what does that do for the workers? You know what I mean? Like, oh, okay, the headquarters is here now. Oh, okay, well then clearly my job is pretty solid for the next 5-10 years if you're solid, and they need those people there. So real estate, that pops up. I mean, that's one of the major things that drives real estate is the
employees,
and
he employed a lot of people, man.
The working force.
They built the biggest factory in North America.
Really?
The one in Waco?
Oh no, Tesla in Austin, the Gigafactory.
Man,
they literally built the biggest factory in North America.
Yeah, look that up.
Shout out to Elon.
This. Yeah, honestly, shout out to Elon, man. He's doing a lot of stuff. He's about to give everybody Wi-Fi for free.
Starlink. But basically,
not for free, but
what you're saying is kind of like the future is bright for DFW, right? We have many good catalysts, and I'm pretty interested over there by the Cowboy Stadium. Just because, like,
That whole area, man, is popping.
Yeah, the FIFA's gonna be there in a couple years from now. It's kind of like, okay, so there's an opportunity there. Like I would say,
100%.
Yeah, and that's where, like you're saying, when's a good time to buy? It's like, well, how long are you planning on holding? You know what I mean? It's like, if you got to live there, it might not. You got to find the right time. But if you're looking to hold a property for 5 years because of you see the investment, yesterday was a good time to buy. You know what I mean? It's like, if you're capable, it's like, where's your situation?
Where's your pocket? What's your
buying
financials?
Power?
What's your
exactly,
financials?
Exactly,
Yeah,
and that's.
But I think you can't go wrong with real estate, and we have one of the best markets. I think, like you said, maybe like one of the best markets. And even though the Fed is raising rates and demand has been tapering down, I think that our markets are not as exaggerated as. Since we have a great location, I don't think it's as exaggerated as other parts in like Wyoming and
that's a great
bumfucked.
And
I don't mean to start bashing,
bro. Yeah, hey, the cheap prices in bumfuck nowhere. Let me tell you what. Hey,
well, that's why people came to Texas.
I was gonna say some people wanted.
There's
land,
so much land out here,
and you if you don't mind driving an hour, and you're already used to driving an hour from LA, and you come down here, bro, and you do live out there, you could buy a big lot, man.
There's so many hubs too in Texas, San Antonio, Austin.
Yeah, and
Houston.
the other thing is our highways. Have y'all ever driven
the
the
highway
highway
system?
Yes.
We have good infrastructure, right?
We have great infrastructure, and Abbott's actually, he's going to double down on that, hopefully this year too.
Gregory
Abbott. Yeah, Gregory, bro. Hey, Gregory Abbott, bro.
Shout out Gregory Abbott.
I'm not saying I voted for him or a fan or anything, but I am saying, those are the good things the governor is doing for the state of Texas.
I'm glad you brought up the highway system, because for my job, I have to go to a lot of different places in Texas, bro, and especially around the Metroplex. Like, look at all these dots are all the properties I've looked at.
Oh, okay.
And so,
oh my
God. If I see the tollway,
I love that.
I'm hopping on the tollway.
Hell yeah.
Because then you look over and you see like all the people stuck in bumper to bumper traffic. I'm like,
damn. Reminds me of LA, bro. That's.
But I want to talk about Arlington. What you brought up, Ahmed, was North Arlington. And if we just go right here, the corner, southwest corner of 360 and 30, what do we got? We got Six Flags Over Texas.
Yep.
We got Dallas Cowboy Stadium, Globe Life Field,
a new stadium,
Choctaw Stadium.
Yeah.
We got Texas Live. You haven't been there. I mean,
what?
No, if you haven't been there, you need to go.
Gotta go. Go during like a playoff game. Go during a big event. Make sure there's like a fight going on or something.
Start a fight.
I was there.
Start a fight. It'll be one for the books. But just make sure. Yeah.
But man, it's huge. And then they put in like.
And I just found out in Texas you can legally fight somebody.
Dude, my coworker told me that.
Bro, you can legally fight somebody.
If you go to a cop, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, we want to settle our differences. Can you just observe?
Yeah. Like we both agreed. We both agree we're going to duke it out. And we just need you to witness that we both agreed before I beat his ass. And then, you know what I mean? All right. But yeah, that's cool.
It's crazy.
America.
Yeah. I'm not a fighter. I'll settle it with words. I mean, I can fight. Don't get me wrong. Catch these hands, but we'll settle it with words usually.
Hurricane Harbor too.
But man,
yeah. Let's go back to that, because it is. You got Hurricane Harbor, man. It's an entertainment hub.
And over there, they're fixing so many highways right now. It's kind of like tough.
Yeah.
To see what they're doing.
Right.
But I like y'all said, the infrastructure.
Once
think
it's finished, man.
Bro.
It's
amazing.
it's gonna be
like 2028. I think it'll be.
Yeah. 240. 2040, man. Our kids will enjoy it.
Yeah. I got a hot take for you, Johnny. So. What's the probability of these home prices in Texas turning into something like a California, where they just continue to uptrend, and
great question.
Like, what's the probability?
Politics is gonna determine that. So the probability of Texas doing that, I would say, I mean, prices are only gonna go up because we just don't have enough inventory, especially where everyone wants to be is where everyone is at, you know, and so. I mean, I think it's going to continue. So that's where that's a great question, right? Because everyone's saying they're going to get cut. Like, prices are going to drop 15, 20%. And it's like, what market did that person say? That usually where they get that information, they usually don't double check that source. Yeah. And they usually don't know what area they're talking about. They're just thinking generally.
It varies.
And that's where it's like you need to talk to a professional and an expert in the market you're looking at, the local hyper market, because real estate is a hyper local market. one neighborhood is more sought after than the next. And you can have a street divide in pricing, and just like this neighborhood does not move. They've lived there for 50 years. Like, I've seen it where like everybody's just elderly, and they'll like, yeah, we've been neighbors for 50 years. And then you have another neighborhood that is being flipped like every 3 years, right? Or it ends up becoming a rental, or it just depends on what you're talking about. But home prices, man, they're going to continue. It just depends at what rate, right? So I think we're at a healthy rate of 3 to 5% year to year, depending on the market you're looking at. But that's a healthy, normal rate. During COVID in the last 20 to 2022, we saw it skyrocket 20%, like in 3 years. So like your capital, that's so much money. Like, you don't see 20% increase in real estate very often. And that's, I mean, so it depends on what market you're looking at. Like, definitely deals to be made, but
that's what
that
my
answers your question.
friends,
No, you're good.
my friends that got a house, they found a good deal in Hearst. They found some value there where people weren't, the houses weren't as highly priced as other places like Keller or South Lake and all that. So they found a good deal in Hearst. But like you said, it's it's like it's hyper localized, and what can you get? And wanted to ask you, is there any kind of markets you think are undervalued, like people can get in with like a good home price, or does it all just depend?
Yeah, so I would say where the market's going is where a good, I say that because if you're looking at a good value and it's about the price, then I can give you those areas. But you're going to have to drive a little bit. You know what I mean? Like from what you're wanting to be, but you're going to want to be there because you're going to make so much money from all the homes that are going to be built out there. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to
everything's going to rise.
If you're there before, then you bought low, and now everyone else wants to buy in your area. That skyrockets your price. So to answer your question, man, I would say, like, if you're looking in Fort Worth, you're going to be looking in the Saginaw Hazlitt area. So like right up in here, that's growing constantly. I mean, Arlington, man, there's still good prices in Arlington. Irving, people now that, and go down to Mansfield. Mansfield's developing their highways a lot, like just more and more, where it's really quick access. There's a lot of new communities. So yeah, we could talk about new communities because they're offering the most incentives for buyers. So like, if you want a good deal, like, you could still make a good deal with the seller, but it's a really good time to buy a brand new house. Like, they're giving more to realtors, and they're not only giving more to realtors, but they're giving more to their buyers, more importantly, because that's what really matters.
In Mansfield?
New builds all around.
Oh, new builds.
Yeah, new builds all around.
You're referring to like these cookie cutter homes, like Keller Williams will build a subdivision, and they need buyers. Is that what you're kind of saying? They'll give concessions?
So the inventory, so they'll give you concessions. They'll give you seller concessions. So closing costs, right? And you can use those closing costs towards your down payment. You can use it to buy down your rate. So for instance, I've got one buyer who's doing that. And this is where we're talking about interest rates, right? And I kind of forgot to mention this, but even if you have an interest rate of, let's say, 6.5%, right? If you throw money at that interest rate instead of your loan, you can get that rate down a little bit. And most people don't know that, but a lot of people don't have that extra cash to throw at it. So there's one way you do it is you say, hey, I really love your home, and I want to make this work, but I need this type of payment, right? So my interest rate has to be this amount. Okay, well, how much does it cost to get from 6.5 to 5.5?
The upfront
fee.
Yeah.
You got to bring that cash up. Yeah. That's aside from your loan.
That's called paying the points down.
Yeah.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, you're paying the points down. So, one client got $10,000. Another client got $7,700. I had the $7,700 went towards their closing cost, so it helped their down payment. They were okay with the interest rate. The second client, they bought down their interest rate because they had to, because they were buying a more expensive home, so the payment was a little bit more, so they bought down their rate. And what that does is it makes it affordable. Now the seller's paying that, so it didn't come out of the pocket for the buyer, but the seller pays that because they need their house to sell, right? And it depends, and you can kind of work with it in the deal as well. So it just depends on, you can up the asking price and you can up the offer price and pull it off of that as long as the home meets the value. But that's where you got to have a good agent to know that the home will meet that value, right? So you got to know how to look at the market and look at the comparables and see, okay, because then you're gambling. And but that's where the experience comes in.
And so that gets into the negotiation process of bringing, you got the buyer and then you got the seller. And they both want what they want, right?
Yeah,
so
they both want to win.
It's like a tug of war.
It's a win-win, man. That's what we want at the end of the day.
What are the kind of things that you see and help the buyer or the seller negotiate on besides paying points down? Is there anything else?
Yeah, so that's kind of been more in the talk. Like you'll see even listings pop out with saying, hey, we're selling at this price, but we're automatically offering $10,000 to buy your rate now. Like that, I see that on listings now.
Dang.
Yeah, and that's because it got cold. So it's like there's opportunity there, but other things they negotiate about. You're looking at how long the big things are.
Maybe like a roof.
Who's paying title, right? So yeah, roofing. Obviously, so during the process of real estate, you're gonna go under contract. You're gonna have your inspection. And they're going to find out all the details. So there's kind of 2 points of negotiating. If not, I say there's 3 wins that you have to do in a contract. There's 3 wins. So the first win is when you get under contract and you win the home. And you get an executed contract and you say, hey,
we won the bid.
Hey, we won the bidding.
It's us.
Even if there's no buyers, we still won the bidding because the seller accepted us. Like,
right.
The seller. So, yeah.
That's stage 1.
Stage 1, that's the first win. I say, hey, guys, congratulations. We don't have to look at any more houses for now, right? Hopefully never. But right now, we're locked on this one. Okay, after we go through the repairs, and I'm going through this process right now, too, with one of my buyers. And that's where also you look at a home, and you can kind of, with the experience, I can kind of tell if a home's going to have a lot of issues, right? So like you're saying, looking at the roof, that's a major cost. You're looking at the HVAC, that's a major cost.
Oh, yeah.
HVAC only lasts about 10 to 15 years. So if it's on its 15 year, if it's on, you're looking
you need
at
to negotiate that
You're
aspect.
gonna take care of it.
Yeah, or you realize that and you're like, okay, I'm gonna have to account for that
in
a year, maybe 3 years. But yeah, who knows when it's gonna go out? I'm gonna have a big cost, right? So people avoid that or want to make sure I'm looking out for them on that age of the roof. Foundation is huge. So those are your 3 ones. It's gonna be
interesting.
But to answer your question, what are we negotiating on, right? So you first time negotiate on the price and kind of the terms, your general terms. The second one is going to be on the repairs. Did the inspection come up with any major things that it's like, this is going to be a huge cost to me that I didn't know about, right? It's the I don't know about. We can't see through walls. We can't climb on the attic or in the attic. We can't do, some attics you walk in, but you can't walk on the roof. So after that, we're at a second stage and that's the next win. So once we agree to terms on that, if we agree, most of the times, it's pretty easy to agree, right? It just depends on the parties.
So basically, like you said, stage 1 is winning the bid.
Yeah.
Stage 2 is inspecting the property. The most important things: your roof, your AC, your plumbing, your foundation.
Yeah.
Those are the main things. And after you get that inspection back, and there's some red flags, would you say that's a good, you can maybe negotiate and win the negotiation when the seller really knows that, hey, I know my roof is, gonna need to get replaced here.
So most of the time, yes, absolutely. Most of the time the sellers know.
Yeah.
They have an idea and they just haven't looked behind that door yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then, and sometimes they won't disclose it on the seller's disclosure. And it's like, it's gonna come up in the inspection. But a lot of times it just depends on who you're working with, right?
Yeah.
But yes, if that comes to terms, there's 2 ways you can go about that. Is the first one is, hey, I need you to fix everything on this list.
Yeah.
Well, we close in 20 days.
That's the
and contractors
are
going to come out next week, and you know what I mean. It depends on the work.
Right.
Oh, they're backed up. We're not going to can't get this done until after closing. We're pushing closing. No. We want to close. Everybody wants to stay on timeline.
Exactly.
So if they can't fix small items or there's big items that take longer, you talk about credit. And that's where the seller credit comes back in. And it's like, okay, hey, how much is this going to cost? And the sellers like that and the buyers like that because the seller doesn't have to bring that out of their pocket right now. They can pull it out off of the proceeds they're going to get from selling their house. So if you're capitalized on $100,000 and it's $2,000 of repair costs, it's like, okay, if I'm willing to give up $2,000 to get my $100,000, I'm going to do that. You know what I mean? So you have, there's those two options is what I tell my buyers is, hey, we can ask them to fix these things, or we can have them pay for it and get a cost. And then the best thing about that as well is my buyers get to choose who's doing the job.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you'll have the seller be like, okay, I'll fix it. I'm a handyman. I'll
pay these guys down the road.
Yeah. And so then you also
do a
have to
good
make sure
job.
it's professionally done. That's something I do put out there. Make sure your work is professionally done there.
I think the best route is to kind of get that credit and fix it on your own terms, so you know exactly who's fixing it, what's the quality of it. But going back to that, as somebody who just got his license and somebody who has experience, after like the inspection aspect, like that's the time, and after inspection something pops up, like that's the time where you got to be bold with your negotiation and try to get the most bang for your buck and win for your agent.
Representing, right. I mean, I represent my buyer, right? But if the seller's not happy and we're not going to close, like they end up ruining the deal, it's like I want a win-win for both sides. Like I want to make sure my buyer is getting what they want first, right? That's first, is I'm representing them, make sure they are happy and get everything they want. But also that we're not, just completely taking advantage of the seller, because a lot of times those deals don't work out, right? And so you want to get the most bang for your buck, and there's ways to do that where
both sides win.
Yeah, both sides are winning, right? There's a lot of ego involved in that.
Yeah,
I bet.
Yeah.
I got two questions for you. So one on the inspection. So have you ever encountered a situation where the inspector comes in and say the seller didn't say anything, right?
Yeah.
The inspector finds one thing. Maybe it's like the plumbing's messed up. And then it's like a thread. Pull the thread, and then there's like, all right, this is messed up. This is messed up.
Yeah.
And on the seller's disclosure, they marked none of that.
Yeah.
Is that enough to ruin a deal? Have you ever seen anything like that?
Absolutely, man. Yeah. I mean, that's why we like the option period. It's what's great about the option period is you're only putting a few $100s down to get the house off the market, so you can fully investigate.
Okay.
But you're not losing your earnest money, which is the 1% to 2% that you're putting down to show you have skin in the game. So as soon as you go under contract, it's saying title takes the money, so it's not giving it to the seller. It's giving it to a middle party saying, hey, we got money. They're solid. Like, they're serious about buying it because we have a few $1,000s, and people don't send that just for shits and giggles, right? So, man, you got that. And then, but you can get that back. You can get that 1% to 2% back.
The earnest money?
The earnest money. You can get the earnest money back when you, like, let's say the option and you find out that the electrical is an issue. And then you actually have it investigated by an electrician, because the inspector's only going to tell you, hey, go get a qualified electrician out. Go get a plumber out. Go get he's only going to find the problems. Then you got to get another vendor, and you got to pay them for their time to get a roofer. Now, the insurance can pay for some stuff like the roof. But yeah, you're going to have to get a foundation guy. You're going to have to pay more money. This is out of your pocket, right? That you don't know you're going to actually close on this house. So you're paying for these vendors to make, and that's where it's like, if you see too many problems, hey, give me my money back. Y'all take the few $100s.
We're out.
We're going to go look at another one. Yeah. That happens all the time. If there's a problem with the house, I'll back out. Like, I'll tell them, hey guys, we'll find something better.
Dang, that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
I like what you said about, because most people, they probably don't know. People watching this, I like what you said about the option fee and how important that is.
Yeah.
Kind of like giving you insurance and giving you the time to do all your inspections, do all your DD.
It's allowing you to do your due diligence to make sure, but it's allowing you to do it while there isn't another buyer. So that's saying, like, okay, I can take my time to look through the house, and that's also something a lot of first-time home buyers have a hard time with, is just getting under contract, because they think they're stuck. They don't realize, like, okay, there is an out. And as an experienced agent, I do know 33 ways to get out of the contract as a buyer. In the state of Texas, it is so buyer friendly.
Wow.
They want to make sure the seller's serious about selling their home. So sellers out there, when you're selling, just know they're in, and that's also,
ways.
as a seller, you need to have a good agent, because there are 33 ways out, and you need to make sure you know that those outs aren't available in a timely manner, right?
Wow.
You don't want them pulling out before it closes.
Elaborate on that a little bit? Like,
Yeah.
Like, so you basically said,
33 ways.
The way Texas is, or it's like buyer friendly. The contracts are buyer friendly.
Yeah.
And you said that if anything pops up, that there's 33 ways that a buyer can back out and say and have their earnest money and option fee be safe.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of those ways is obviously during the option. You can get out. So that's a backing. You're losing a few $100s. But you're going to lose that. The few $100s, you have to understand that it's an application fee.
Yeah. A few $100s.
For rentals,
part of the game.
Renting understands that. $50 for an application fee, right? This is $500 for an application fee.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what are we're talking about?
The 33 ways.
The 33 ways out. So option is one. Financing is another. There's so many days when your third-party financing, you put how many days you have until your loan can be approved. So even though your option's 7 days, your financing could be 21. If you're on day 20 and you there's ways around it, but
deals fall through all the time.
Yeah, you end up running a credit card, right? And you're not supposed to be buying anything. Now you can't afford that house. Your lender says, hey, hold on. We need to back out before it's too late to get that money. Yeah. And then you get your earnest money back. So
interesting.
Yeah, that's one way. HOA is another way. If there's an HOA, there's ways to get out on that because you have a certain amount of days to look that over. Survey, if they don't give the survey in timely manner, that's a way out. Sellers have a way out too. If the buyers don't give they really only have like 3, I think, is if the buyer doesn't turn in their earnest and option money within the 3 days.
Okay.
That's technically void. You can obviously move forward, and I've had it happen. But the sellers could back out to where it protects them. This is where experience, like you have to learn the terms. You have to learn what's the right terms for this deal, right? It's not so cut and dry of, hey, we're looking at houses and, I love it. We talk to people, we look at houses and sign contracts, man.
Well, you said 33 ways a buyer can get out of the contract. Our ears perked up.
Yeah.
So if your ears perked up and you're listening to this, hit up Jonny Swearingin, Monument Realty. And he'll get you right. He's got 33 ways Sunday
to protect you. That's right. Exactly. That's right. And hopefully we won't have to use those ways, man.
No.
Hopefully
you want
love
the house.
That house. Yeah, that's why we got under contract. Because again, the house is gonna sell itself, man. It's my job is to present it. And the house is going to sell itself. I want to make sure that they are confident and comfortable moving forward. And that's the key.
Yeah. So I was going to ask, the negotiation process, is that everything's going through the agent? And are you negotiating with the actual seller? Or are you negotiating with the seller's agent?
Yeah, that's a great question. So no, I don't talk to the seller. So great question. So for sell by owners, right? They want to do that. And my buyer wants to go and they see on Zillow or Realtor.com or wherever they're searching, they see, oh, hey, this one's for sell by owner. Can we go look at this one? And I tell them that for sell by owner is not. The sellers pay the buyer commission, by the way. So people out there who are first-time home buyers, you don't have to pay your agent anything. That's a good and a bad thing. So make sure you have a good one, right?
You said the sellers pay the buyer's commission?
In the state of Texas, the sellers pay the buyer's commission. Typically, it's 3% on both sides. That can vary, but generally across the board, the seller's going to be paying 6%, and 3 of that goes to the buyer's agent. Now, you'll see 2.5%. You'll see like different 4%. You'll see 5% from builders. But typically, that's what you're looking at. So for buyers, and that's where it's great as a first. That's why agents who are starting work with buyers because it doesn't cost the buyer anything to use my service. Versus a seller has an asset to protect, and they want to make sure they're getting the most out of it, but they also know there's a cost to selling.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm learning so much, man.
Me too, bro.
This has been a good one.
I'm so happy.
I'm gonna go back and watch this one.
I love it. So yeah. So I mean, that's the basis of that for the first time home buyer saying you're not. About the for sale by owner. That's what we were talking about.
Oh yeah.
So the owner is not paying that. That's why they're selling themselves because they don't want to pay the 6%. They want to save that
commission.
Yeah. And then it's like, okay, if we go under contract with this for sale by owner, he can't work the legal contracts I can as a licensed agent. He can't use TREC documents. So he's representing himself, but he's going to have to come up with his own contract. The most litigation is in that. You want to.
That's a headache.
That's a lot of people are getting sued over that. Could you buy that house and they don't have that seller's disclosure that we talked about, and he didn't open that closet, but you're like, he had a really good, charming personality.
I believe
You buy that house, and the foundation crumbles, or the roof's older than you thought. Hey, man, you got some problems, right? Like, you're not happy about that.
You're hitting the courtroom.
Yeah,
Cha-ching.
you are.
And the seller, at the end of the day, like, say they go to court, the seller's gonna be like messed up. Like, seller's gonna lose that, something like that, or
Yeah, I mean, you can get I mean, I know people are sued for damages, and I mean that if you have the money to go to battle, but that's the thing is like it costs for both parties to just even before you even win, you got to spend a lot, and it's whoever basically has the most money wins in that sense. It's like how long if you're smart about pushing, you know. But I try to avoid all that, right? Like that's where you see that stuff ahead of time, and try to avoid.
So let's say you represent a buyer and the seller is a for sale by owner.
Yeah.
Are you going to be reviewing his contracts, and or are you going to make?
I don't work with them. I don't work with them.
You don't work with for sale by owners.
No. I tell my buyers, you don't want that house.
Yeah.
Because they're not even serious enough to have a legit agent market their home properly. Number one, and number two. Yeah, the litigation we talked about. Once you actually do get under contract and you come to an agreement, you're not
protected.
You're not protected. And that's where you need, to your question, I'm not dealing with the seller. I'm dealing with the listing agent. So that's why both parties need an agent, because it separates. It makes it business. It separates because agents aren't only, we're not just, fiscal people working for you, right? Like we are actually looking out for you as a friend or as somebody. Like we a lot of times become counselors, it's a big emotional decision for a lot of people to purchase a home. Like it really is.
Like you said too, y'all go through all this training and education to do that in order for the buyer to rest easier, the seller to rest easy at night, knowing they're getting a great deal and they know that things are checked out, right? You're preventing XYZ from happening. All right, so we've been having a good conversation.
Also, I will say a lot of times, I want to add to that. That's
well, hold on, is it still recording?
It is.
Okay.
Oh, snap.
Dude,
Right.
my alarm. Yeah, yours is going.
Are we good?
My alarm stopped it, but
okay.
We'll have a little delay, but it'll be
all good.
Yeah.
Okay, right on.
I got it.
Yeah, you got. Hey, work your magic, man. Yeah. Cool. All right. So, the other thing is sellers who sell by themselves, for sale by owners, F.S.B.Os is what we call them. They are doing that because they want to save 6%.
Yeah.
But little do they know, if they work with a real agent who understands it right and can market it properly, then what you're looking at is, hey, what if I could get you that 6% from the marketing? Yeah. What if I could get it to pay? Like, for instance, I just worked with my first seller for the year, the listing. It got under contract in 5 days. Okay. So and in this market, it got under contract for 5 days.
Jeez.
And people wonder okay, homes are sitting for 30, 45 days. And it's why? Well, they're wanting last year's prices.
F.S.B.O people wanting to sell super high.
Yeah. So if you, I mean, that's why you just stay away from F.S.B.Os sit longer too, because it's hard. You have to contact the owner to see the house, and usually the owner's with you walking through the house, pointing out how great it is. You can actually put your own spin on it.
That's the thing, bro, with residential real estate is that people get attached. There's so many memories that were made in your home.
Yeah.
You think it's worth $750,
and that's
it's
right.
Really $500.
Right. Yeah, man.
Because you had Christmas in this room.
That's a great point.
And that's a great.
I got a funny story to say one time. Let me go real quick.
Yeah.
My dad, he bought a house during COVID, and I don't know, maybe they were distressed or what happened, and I think their move out day was a couple of days, and we kept going to the property to check it out or whatever. This guy brought out a rifle.
He showed up.
Yeah, it was a crazy story. Like you said, bro, people get attached to it. This is where all their memory is.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you let it go, when you when it's out of your control, it's just just bad.
Yeah, I mean,
easier pill to swallow.
Yeah, it becomes tough, and that's where you do want to put it in someone else's hands, so you know that you're protected and you can focus on your emotions. You know what I mean? You can focus on moving out. You don't have to worry about getting screwed over or if your house will sell or, or getting under contract. You can focus on that move and what payments you need to make, and the deal is solid.
Imagine that's tough to do, though,
It is, man.
Just letting go,
for a long time.
I can see that being a tough thing to do.
That's a great,
but
that's a great point,
though.
y'all. I have a good story on that one. And it was in the Arlington home here recently. We went to high school. I went to high school with their daughter, And we did, you know. Craziest story. It was for one of my buyers who I'd been looking for during the peak of COVID, where she's offering 20 grand over asking, and we're getting second place, third place, second place, third place. And I'm like, oh, what the heck? And I've showed her 50 homes. We've had a contract for like 30, bro. Damn. Yeah. It's just one of those situations where it's like, oof. And so she really needs to be in a house. So we finally do some magic in the back end, and we make it to where it's like, okay, this is definitely a winning offer. Like, there's no way out. We find a seller who wants to work with a new family and not an investor. So it's, you know, that's their choice. To the seller who they sell it to. Now, you can't market it that way, right? But we went for the house, and he was like, I'm so glad you sent your offer in, because we have all these investors, but you actually match them, and we can get what we want, but the buyers can get what they want, but the sellers can sell who do they want to. Yeah, man. And that incident was amazing, because it just kind of it magically happened. And then I find out that they've been living there for 20 years. I know their daughter. I went to high school with her, and I'm thinking like, wow, what are the odds?
Like, this is synchronicities. It's a synchronicity.
Bro, there's so much synchronicity, man. And it's a beautiful thing to happen. That happens a lot in real estate. It just all comes together, and you're like, hey, bro, it's
not even me.
I'm just a part of it, bro. Yeah, I'm just part of the process. I'm glad to be here, you know.
I love to hear that.
Johnny, I have a question to ask you. Like you said, you represented a seller, and you kind of got that home under contract in like less than a week.
Yeah.
At a time where, you know, most homes are being on the market for months on months.
Yeah.
What was kind of the key? What was kind of a key thing that kind of did that for you? And maybe talk about some marketing aspects, or what you can do, like, for an agent to
absolutely, man. I mean, that's a great question, because it is hard right now for listings. A lot of people don't want to sell their homes, and the ones that are on the market are sitting just a little bit longer. And the reason for that is, like we talked about, you know, they're emotionally invested, and they got an emotional price on it versus a market price. And but the biggest thing that helped me sell that was the sellers. It comes down to the sellers and who you're working with. And I was blessed enough to where they ended up they basically put 5 to 10 grand in to the home, and they made it look really nice and
turnkey ready.
Yeah, turnkey ready. Exactly. So they made it turnkey ready, but they made it turnkey ready in an area that it's in South Dallas, the listing. And so it was in an area competing against brand new homes. Right. And so my sellers understood the market, though. That's what the key was. And they trusted my advice, versus like, you want a certain one, you got to be able to show them the resources and show them, hey, I'm not making this up. I just interpret the market. I can't control it. I don't make it up. I just show you what's there and how this works. And so to answer your question, like, they understood, like, for instance, we were going to list it, like, they wanted to get a certain price. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I ran the comps and looked at it, and I was like, it's right there, but I think we can definitely get you that. It might, and this is where I told them, I said, hey, we'll get you this price, but it might take you 3 weeks. They just bought a house. They're ready to get rid of this one so they can make this one look a little nicer with that extra money, right? So they're ready to get rid of this house. They've already put all that money in to make it look really nice. So they say, okay, we'll list it for a little bit less. And I said, this was them that came up. I was like, hey, and I told them that if you do this, like, you're okay with that, that's great. I said, what that's going to do is it's actually going to create a bidding war, is what I told them. I was like, I believe you're going to get multiple offers if you do that. And they're like, okay, that's good. That might, like, end up raising the price, right? And I was like, yeah, look, there you go. You understand. So you bring it down below market price and hoping, now it doesn't work for every home, right? Yeah. But for this and it depends on the location. You got to look at how many homes are selling in that subdivision and within that mile, 2 mile. I mean, sometimes you got to go 3, 5. But you look at the past 3-6 months of how many homes are selling and what's that looking like? What's the inventory movement? And so we realized, like, yeah, so homes were listed for the same property, the same lot for like $250, like, and more. And so they went under, realizing people would want to see it, and it drove it. In the first weekend, we got multiple offers. and they got the asking price they originally started with.
Wow.
And that's the magic right there.
That is magic.
Is they ended up getting the price they wanted, and that's what they were so happy. They're like, we're giving it to a new family. It was our first home. It'll be their first home. We win. The seller. They even, they gave some credit to the buyer, and because they, they
wanted it done.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
wanted to get their new home.
It was one of the negotiations, and but everybody was happy, and that's where it's great. So, I mean, yeah, marketing does matter. Like photography is very crucial. Making sure the home is professionally staged if it needs it, right? Virtually staging.
I was just about to ask you.
Virtually staging. And I did that for this property, so I will say that helped. That brings in traffic. Because it's really hard for people. Some people like a vacant home, and they can kind of imagine it themselves. But people who can't imagine their homes, they need furniture in the house.
I feel that.
Yeah,
because it kind of looks.
It's most people.
How can I live?
Yeah, you're like, what's the spacing of that couch?
How did you do the virtual staging? Was it a company or a website
Yeah, so I have it professionally photographed. And he also does aerial drone footage, which I highly recommend. Every listing should have aerial drone footage.
I love drone footage.
Yeah, I mean
we do that here too.
Yeah. That a lot. It's very, very common in commercial, but residential has it. But I think every listing should at least have one aerial. So virtually staging the home, you take the photos, and then I send it to a third party, and they virtually stage it, give it back to me a day, and I just use those photos.
That's innovative. That's innovative right
Very,
there.
Yeah. That's something I actually
cutting edge.
Yeah, and that's something I learned and kind of brought on to the team I was.
Hey, nice, bro.
Yeah, that and virtual assistant, like those are great if you can work with those. But I don't need that at the moment, but a lot of big teams will use virtual assistant.
Is that the phone that answers and it's like, who do you want to speak to, or what do you mean by virtual assistant?
So you can have them do different tasks. Yeah, you can have them call people if that's something you want them to do. For me, it would be background, just like file moving, like tasks, just daily stuff that needs to be updated, right?
Okay.
And you can have them send out emails, postcards, like different things that just is gonna take your time, and you're gonna get so much more from having them do it than for you doing it.
I think I have an important question that could maybe help somebody who's a first-time home buyer and wants to know, am I paying the right price for this property? Would you say that the best way to realize that if you're paying the right amount for your property, would it be to break down the price, divide that by the square footage, and compare that to homes in the neighborhood that have gone for sale?
Yeah, so I mean, I'll tell you what I do. Like, I don't care. Like, it's it's
break it down.
Yeah, so like what I do is I will now we're talking the home they're interested in, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you need a property for. So yeah, we got an address. We know.
Yeah, let's say they're about to buy a home and they just want to make sure they're paying a fair price.
Yes, they're right, and that's where we get to the appraisal price, right?
Yeah.
So that's where an agent is if you're experienced, like this is where it's fun for me.
Yeah.
Because like when I do the comps, that's what I'm thinking is like, okay, what do I think it's going to appraise for? Based on like the previous sold ones. And you can kind of know what the previous ones sold for, depending on, there's ways like you look at how much credit they gave back, what the offer price was, and then what the actual closing price is. And sometimes and if it's a FHA loan, then they have to drop it down to the price because they can't buy it if it's FHA. And you're overpaying. Now, you can if you have that money, but
Texas is also a non-disclosure state, meaning you don't have to disclose the sale price for any property.
Yeah, that's right.
There's other states where you have to. Like if
Yeah.
you purchased a property, commercial or residential, you don't have to disclose to the government.
So the seller or the buyer is going to pay for that appraisal. So it's like, okay,
not the government, but
yeah,
just like publish it to.
It's not public record. So a lot of times that's the fun part is when my buyers get more than what their home's worth. The appraisal comes in 5, 10. I've had it 30,000, bro, 40,000 over. Yeah, that's a win, right? Yeah, and the seller doesn't know it. The seller thinks they're getting there, and it's like your home was worth way more, right? And that's But the price of the home is based on what the buyer's willing to pay. That's the because it's like you might have a home that's appraised for 600,000, but people are offering 500,000 because they don't want to update it and make it work to where they could sell it for 650 to 7. So yeah, man, I would say like
trying to pull up this map.
The way to do that, because I don't think I answered your question. The way to do that would be to pull up the last 3 months of inventory, and you're gonna gauge it. So like, let's say the home's square footage is 2,000. I'll drop it to like 1,800, some like 200 to 300 range down and above, because an appraiser's not always looking at the square footage a lot of times, actually. Like they get close, obviously, but most of the time they look at different things. But for me, I'm looking at that, so I give a good 300 range of square footage, and then you do the same with the years, depending on the market too. That's where you kind of have to play with this, and that's where it does take like some experience to where you just play with it and you get to know it. You drop it like 5 years on each side, so it's 2010, 2005 to 2015. What's sold in the last 3 years, or not 3 years, 3 months. That's a lot of change. So you look at the last 3 months, and then you do bedrooms. You do three, like let's say it's 3 bed, but it has square footage that most homes have for 4 beds. So you're gonna do 3 to 4 beds because you want to include that. You want to look at pools. Does it have a pool? Yeah, that's gonna add value. So those are like little things. Is it updated? Then you get into the picture. So after I have that, then I'll take all of those and it'll give me the median price. Yeah. You run a CMA, is what it's called, comparative market analysis. And you run that. And then once you have that, man, like you look at each property individually and you go through the pictures and you're like, okay, how long has this been sitting? Did they update it? Are there any issues? How old is, Yeah. And that's when you can get that. Because it's hard to really say.
Basically what you're saying, there's so many factors.
There are. And it depends on the neighborhood. Yeah, man. Like it really does. But that's where it's fun. Like that's where it becomes like an agent thing where you really won't know. You really won't know unless you have that experience of saying, hey, normally when I see something like this is what it's going to come for.
I like how you said you're able to test yourself to see, let's say you're assuming how much the price is worth. Yeah. And then you're testing yourself with the appraisal when the appraisal comes in.
Because I've had it. More than not, it comes in higher. Yeah. But I have had it come in lower. Yeah. To where my buyers are out $20,000, right? But they're okay with that because they plan on staying there for 5 years. So it's like that price is going to come up. They'll meet their value. The equity they build from that is going to be great versus paying a landlord. So, but like I love, that's the game, is like how much equity y'all going to get? Like $5,000, $10,000, like.
Yeah. And that's all about, like you said, experience. And as you have more experience, you'll be able to nail those numbers a little bit more. And I see that with my boss. Like he's been doing real estate appraisal for like almost 40 years.
Nice.
And we'll drive through, like when I was first starting out, drive through Arlington. He's like, did that one. And then, awesome. He'll like, I'll be working on a report and he's like, I think it's probably like 250 square foot. And it's like, all right. And then I go through it. It's like, well, he was right.
Yeah.
There's so much equity.
A lot of times I don't look at that square footage, but I'll do that. That's funny because I like to do that like out of state or something. Yeah. And just be like where it's crazy different market. And it's a fun game, bro. But that's why you need the experience, because if you have an agent where doesn't see that, it's like.
Yeah, you can lose out.
That just takes experience. So like,
I wanted to ask you about, you'd mentioned this earlier. The seller for one of the houses wanted to sell to an actual home, like a family, versus an investor. And I'd heard a lot about that during COVID, where these investors, like a group of people,
Blackrock.
We can talk about
exactly.
That. Yeah,
buying up all the homes, right?
This is where it was. This is where I was getting pissed off. I was getting pissed off, bro, because they were buying brand new homes, bro. You're buying brand new homes.
Yeah, what the heck?
Just to rent out. Brand new homes to rent out. Like that's what condos are for. You're literally cutting the supply of new homeowners out.
They're cheating. They're cheating.
They're cheating. You know what else they did? all the small businesses that got screwed over during COVID because of Walmart stayed open, but other small businesses were forced to close.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about that. All of them had to give up their brick and mortar. They couldn't afford rent because they're not getting any money because the government forced them not to get any money. Yeah. Guess who went in and bought all those places for 60% off?
This is a
Blackrock. Yeah. Bro, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's
crazy, man.
Fuck Blackrock, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, we can cut that out. But fuck Blackrock. Hey, man, it's. I'm all for investors, right? I'm all about building. Like, I plan on building my portfolio, right? Like, it's real estate lifetime. But when it gets to a point where you're buying more than what you actually need, what are we doing? That's a monopoly.
Greedy, yeah.
That's a monopoly, right? Like, and especially right now, we have the lowest shortage of homes available. Like, we're not building enough homes. Like, people don't understand there's not enough supply. And this goes to why people who don't know anything about real estate think, oh, the market's going to crash. It's just going to skyrocket down, just like 2008. And it's like, did you actually know what happened in 2008 and prices in Texas? They barely moved. So it's like, okay, if the crash happens, still barely moving. It might not affect it.
Interesting.
Yeah, man. So like there's not enough supply.
Yeah.
And it's supply and demand. The demand is here because business is here. And that's what people got to focus on. If you look at people, as long as the employment's there and people are working and getting paid, real estate market is going to move. It's just how it works.
To circle back to Elon, I appraised a hotel in Brownsville, Texas.
Okay.
Do y'all know where that is?
Yeah.
Way down south.
That's
and that's actually
too far from me.
Yeah. It's crazy. I flew down there. It's like an 8-hour drive, but it's a 1-hour flight. You're like hitting the air highway. Just you get there.
Okay.
But Elon, what he did was his one of his SpaceX launch pad sites is over there, and he gave like I think like 100,000 jobs in this area. Boom the area, and
Wow.
like you're saying, the business, the employers,
that's what people got to focus on. That's what you focus on right there, because that's the thing that drives.
You start seeing the
If
apartments.
If you see people losing their jobs and people are not working anymore, okay, well now we know people are gonna start foreclosing on their houses.
And people get angry that Elon's not paying his fair share in taxes, but
He's doing a lot for the community.
Yeah.
And the state.
Yeah.
I like what you said there. You said basically, jobs and it's like a leading it's kind of indicator.
Yeah. Yeah. One of them. Yeah. Top 3 for sure. Obviously, the interest rates I don't want to ignore that, right? But it's like what you got to look at is like, okay, we're still getting movement. We're just not getting as much movement as people are used to or expecting. People have a hard time with change, and so they always want what's comfortable and what they're used to. And as soon as you have change, they start freaking out.
Yeah.
But you just wait a little bit longer. Humans adapt and they get used to it, and that's what happened. We took 3 months off of buyers being like, it's scary, I don't want to buy right now, to
let's do it.
Okay, my lease is about to end. What does it actually look like? What does it actually look like to buy a home right now?
Yeah.
Versus it's not a good time. They have to get in and they have to look at, okay, it is a good time. Or selling. Hey, I want to capitalize. I've been living here for 20 years. People say it's not a good time to sell. Have you sold in 20 years? So what you're saying is you have 20 years worth of equity you could gain from selling right now?
And
Do you need that equity or no? So like that's another conversation I have with sellers.
Yeah. And we learned a lot during this episode, and I think what people can learn about it is that they're saying, oh, I'm afraid to buy right now. But really what's happening is the home prices are kind of going down, but you're paying a little bit more as your monthly payment. Is that kind of right? But then beforehand, the price of homes were really high, and your payment was a little bit lower. Right.
So if you're buying with the 3% interest rate, so is everybody else. So you have to do something to make your offer look better. So you have to bring more cash to the table. Okay, that's great if you can do that. People who are in the market now, they weren't in that market because they didn't have that extra cash.
Yeah.
But now it's like, okay, I don't have to overpay for a house. I can actually buy the house for what it's worth, if not under. Like usually I'm seeing at least some sort of, depends on the home, but some sort of negotiation where the seller's willing to give. Before the seller was like, I'm going to go to the next 20 buyers.
I'll sell to Blackrock.
Yeah, for real though. Like so now that's where it's, if you have to look at it like that.
Right now?
7:30, bro. Yeah.
I'll pull it up right now.
All right.
Yeah, it's on. All right, cool. Yeah, that seems good.
Bro, thanks again for coming through, man.
That's sick. Yeah,
I
man.
just appreciate you coming through.
Man, dude,
I've learned so
honestly,
much, bro.
I'm glad, man. I'm glad to share some knowledge, dude. I can't stop learning. That's like all I do. So this is kind of a good.
It's needed.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta keep up, right?
Yeah, exactly.
you stop learning, you fall back pretty short, even if you got the sauce.
Yeah, I want to ask you too. Like, you're up to date on all real estate stuff. Do you do any other type of learning? Like, are you into any books or any inspiration that you get from any source you wanna?
Yeah, man.
Tell
so
the people.
other than real estate, I'm very like health conscious. And you know, I'm not the
Same
best
here. So is he.
practitioner, but I will say I'm pretty fit, and I
Oh yeah.
but so yeah, man, I like Andrew Huberman. He's been a real charm, and like he's been dropping straight
Shout out
gold
Andrew
nuggets,
Huberman.
man.
Shout
Yeah,
out.
like
Yeah.
I follow a lot of his stuff.
Dude, he lives in Austin. And
Oh, word. Okay.
So James Ryan, do y'all remember him?
He did move to Austin too. That's funny.
Yeah, he's in Austin.
Yeah.
And bro, he met him in a sauna.
No,
Funny enough,
bro. The sauna.
I would show you my
The
phone.
perfect place to meet.
Yeah, he took
That's
a
like
selfie
me and
with him.
LeBron in
Hell
the gym.
yeah. Right,
He met,
bro.
he met Cowboy Cerrone, the UFC fighter, in
Yeah.
the same sauna.
Okay. Where's the
At,
sauna?
Where's
the sauna? I need to slide.
No,
Sauna.
I went to it. I went to it. There's no famous people in it, but
Hey, you
think
just
it
got to park in there. You got to stay in
Consistency,
there.
bro.
I think it was a Lifetime Fitness.
That sounds about right. Lifetime's a great gym.
But yeah, we got the Mavs game pulled up. Ahmed's like, can't really see it, but
No, I'm good.
You good?
But I think it's important, like you
Nice.
said, bro. Like,
Yeah.
once you're able to focus on your body and
Yeah.
be at peak physique,
Yeah.
it'll just trickle down to every other aspect in your life.
Absolutely, bro. You gotta get that mind body connection, right?
Yeah.
And that's what people like. A lot of people want to work out to look good. That's not why I work out. That's a great bonus. I
Yeah.
love my six pack. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
love looking good, but that's not why I work out.
Yeah.
I work out so I can make sure I'm in tune with me, and that's what my workout session is for. Is to make sure I'm checking in, and like it gives me that time to get out of my head and get into my body. And I think a lot of people get stuck in their head, especially nowadays with social media, and like you're stuck in your car at your desk, you're not moving, right?
Mhm.
And I think that movement is very important.
you're speaking my language, bro.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people too, especially nowadays. Everything's so comfortable. It's so soft, right?
Yeah.
And we grew up like having to survive. You were talking about this last episode. We don't have that, like, in terms of, some people get it through business and stuff, but I think a lot of guys need to hear this. You need to exercise, bro. Train your body, because
Just move, man. Like you don't have to
You're
go
gonna
like lift a bunch of weights. Like literally just go on a walk. Like just get some sun,
Yeah.
and you'll realize your mood will change just from being out in the sun.
Oh yeah.
Like
Let that
yeah.
sun just rain down.
Yeah, you start that walk, bro, and then you get that movement. You hey, that next walk's a little bit longer.
And there's nothing wrong, like you said, working out for the looks.
Nothing wrong
there's
at
nothing
all.
wrong with that.
Nah, man.
But the best thing about
Whatever
it,
motivates you.
yeah, the best thing about it is just you're gonna be firing on all cylinders. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, yeah. I mean, and that's the thing is like the reason I say that is like most people will start that to like they'll want to look good, and that they don't look good fast enough, so they stop. And that's why I say like you want to go in the gym to feel good. If you feel good and after that workout you feel good the next day, that's what you got to focus on. Did I feel good after that? And you can continue to do that, because then that'll last a lifetime, and then you're gonna look good in 6 months.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it'll definitely happen.
There's a weird thing that goes on with certain people. I think it happened with social media, is people compare themselves to the celebrities, the professional athletes, where, like
Yeah.
you said, they'll want results so fast.
Yeah.
They don't see it, then they get pissed or they quit, or they might go to the extremes where they starve themselves. Or
Yeah.
body dysmorphia. There's a lot
Start
of weird.
taking shortcuts
It's just how our society is. Like they want everything
now.
No,
Instant
now.
gratification, bro. I
but
mean,
they don't realize that.
it's because we've been accustomed to that.
Yeah, they don't realize that when you're in the gym, you're working for months on months on months, or whether you're in the game, real estate game, for years on years
Yeah.
on years. That's where you get your value. That's where
Yeah.
that's where the beast is made. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? That's
bro,
where
honestly.
Kyrie's in the gym or Kobe's in the
about it.
gym.
Bro, somebody, I think it was my brother, shout out Josh, right?
Talking about shit, huh?
Hey,
Clip
man.
that.
Yeah. On God, though, the wizard himself, bro.
It's the truth.
Hey, but it is the truth. A lot of people were saying there's like a magnet on the rim for the NBA. And I was like, I immediately debunked that. Just from saying this. That's disrespectful
What do
to
you
Steph
mean?
Curry.
What do you mean magnet?
The
Like,
nanobots.
That's what I'm saying.
The nanobots.
To pull the
Mark
ball
Cuban
into the
nano-
rim.
I'm kidding.
And I'm thinking, what about all the missed shots, bro? So, like, to get the numbers up. And I was just like, that's ridiculous. That's so disrespectful for all the time Steph Curry puts in the gym
I know, right?
and shoots. Like, why do you think no one shoots from back there? Because it's hard.
Johnny's like,
a magnet in the
forget
room.
about everything else. I need to get this set this straight.
Bro, yeah. Like, no, because I heard that. I was like, because, like you're saying, man, putting in the time is so important.
Yeah.
Like, it's so important to actually, because you're going to learn more than what you're wanting to get out from just the time.
It's about the consistency.
Yeah, man. Yeah, like it's like you said, real estate. Like I worked for somebody for 5 years, or yes, 5, almost 6 years before going and start like doing it myself. And I like, if you can't afford that time, if you could put 5 years in, but most people can't. So it's like, yeah, so a lot of people ask me like, hey, should I get my real estate license? And I tell them I'm the wrong person to ask, because I didn't go that route. So that looks different, right? That looks different than I have. Like, I'm pretty successful on my first year that most agents' first year wouldn't be. And so people like congratulate me, and I'm like, no, like I've
been in the G League for years.
Yeah. It's like, thanks. I'm not. Yeah. It's like, yeah, I've been putting in the work. This is what's supposed to happen. Like, it's better happen. Like, it's expected. Versus, you know, it's expected to close half the deals I did for the first agent, and because it's that. Yeah. So I doubled my like expectations on that, and like I don't know it.
Well, that speaks to the mindset of like how you accept success and what your true goals are, because like you said, people are telling you, oh, you did great this first year. You're so amazing. Like you really have to objectively look at yourself and say like, all right, that's nice. That's nice. What's next?
Yeah. Like, did I accomplish what I was originally trying to do? Yeah. And that's to that point, like I care a lot of what people think about me, but only certain people. You know what I mean? Like,
that's important.
If you don't have my number, bro, and you can't text me and tell me you have a problem with me, like, I don't care what you have to say. You know what I mean?
That's
like,
smart.
I don't care.
You
like,
can't waste time on.
And so same thing. It was like, oh, you're doing such an amazing job. It's even the accolades. It's like, I'm not there yet. Like, I'm on my, because if you are on other people's like goals and stuff, and you're like, and you're only looking for their validation, and they're, oh, you did good. When they don't do that,
you're doing it for the wrong
you're
reasons
empty.
too.
Yeah, you're empty, man.
And that's what, going back to Russ, Jack, like Russ is like, I'm not gonna wait for you guys to congratulate me or crown me. Like, you know, you gotta focus on the right things.
Yeah.
But going back to like the realtor, what type of advice would you give to like anybody who is up and coming as a real estate agent, and you know, maybe trying to get some skin in the game? What type of advice would you give to somebody like that?
Yeah, man, I would say like, you're gonna have the seasons that are cold, to where you think like you shouldn't be in this anymore, or like, am I in the right spot? Like, how long does it take until I start seeing results, right? And I say you got to keep grinding. You got to, if you look at it in a longevity, like most people are like, okay, I'm gonna get my license first year, I'm gonna kill it. Like let's say first 2 years, I'm gonna kill it. It's like, look at it as you're gonna be in it for 5 to 10 years. And that's what I tell myself is like, are you in it for the long run? Because real estate's long run game. Your transactions when you meet somebody don't typically happen for about 3 to 6 months after you meet them. So that's a long-term game if you're meeting someone expecting to make a sale quick, and it's like, no. So I would say, man, just like be in it for the long run, and know like you're gonna have like I this last fourth quarter, I'm not gonna lie, it was cold, bro. It was very cold. There was but so it was like that for everybody else, right? So if you can withstand that and you can withstand the hard times, you'll make it.
Yeah, embrace it too.
Yeah, just don't stop.
And then on top of that, just networking. And
I would say, the realistic stuff that you could actually do, man. Constantly contact people.
Yeah, like, let people know you're an agent.
You gotta let people know you're an agent, man. You also gotta give them value, bro. You gotta provide them value, and that's the key. It's like you gotta show them that you have stuff that they can't just find on the internet, or like, you know, that you actually do care. You know what I mean? Because most people do look at some agents and they're like, they're just there to take my money, or like they, you know, they're new in the game, or whatever it is. And it's like, no, that's like, some are actually there to provide you value, to be a part of your experience, and make sure you don't have a terrible experience, because a lot of people have had bad experience with agents. But yeah, I would say, man, just make sure you stay consistent with it. Like, dial the phone, stay on the phone, make phone calls, don't text. Call that person, talk to them,
Huge.
Like, texting is great in our generation, and it depends on the person too. Some people prefer text. They're like, I'm on the phone all day, just text me. But
that's true, bro. Because
you have to gauge that. Do they like text, phone calls, or emails?
Right.
Certain people I deal with, like operators of C-stores, gas stations.
Okay.
A lot of them like to text. They don't like to hop on the phone. They'd rather text you and get it done real quick. So, I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah,
whatever.
Like, kind of our society is kind of like, they don't want the confrontation sometimes.
Yeah. I think with real estate, it's really important, because like you can gauge, you can get more. You get more done, and you can really feel where they're coming from, versus it might come off different in text, especially when it comes to cultural. Like, I work with different cultures, and culturally you have to approach them in a certain manner where, like, you just have to meet them where they're at. You know what I mean?
There is a weird thing about reading text versus obviously talking to someone so much different because you're in the room with them. There's body language. There's energy being translated. But yeah, sometimes you read a text and like, dang, bro, you pissed? Something like that.
Yeah.
Like people will say that. They're like, bro, why aren't you? Like, you all right?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, it doesn't have that personality touch.
Yeah, it's weird. But
yeah, so I think that's something important. I think people appreciate that when you call them versus just your text, because you know they might be getting text the same. 3 other agents might be doing the same thing. So set yourself apart, bro. Like, is another thing is like, don't be afraid to set yourself apart in the sense of how you dress, like, and you can and you don't have to do this. You don't have to go all out, bro. Like, just look nice. Just look like you're clean. You know what I mean? Like, clean yourself up to where you look like you're care and you're here with.
You're ready
you're
for
serious.
business. You're open for business.
Same concept.
Where do you see and how do you see artificial intelligence in the real estate industry? Do you see?
Ooh, great question. I love that.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
I recently used ChatGPT for my listing description.
It works. Well, how'd you do it? You just typed
I got
in
so many
like,
compliments. You know what I mean? Like, hey, this is so well written. I said, yeah, it is.
Thank you. I put my hard work and time into it.
Hey, so honestly, I see it. So people
It's just working more efficient.
Yeah, exactly. It still needs a human touch, and that's what people like think it's going to take over, right? Like, people were thinking Ibuyers would take over, and that was whenever Zillow was buying up homes. And
They failed at that.
They failed at that.
Wait, explain that.
Their
How
stock
did that?
prices.
What was
Yep.
that?
So
I missed
Zillow, you could have an Ibuyer back in the day, and you could say, hey, don't worry about the hassle of putting your house on the
I don't
market.
even need to check it out.
Sell it to us.
Yeah.
And well, yeah. Yeah. So what they
To
ended up
some
doing
extent.
was, and the thing is, sellers thought they were getting a good deal. Normally, you're giving, like we talked about, that 6%. You're giving that 6% to your agent, who's giving some of that to the buyer's agent. A lot of times, Zillow would charge you a service fee of like 12% or maybe 15%, depending on your home. And people don't know about that. So they're like, okay, we're just going to give you cash and we'll close really quickly. But hey, we realize you need new flooring, you need new paint. Like, oh, we might have foundation issues. All these expenses we're going to have to pay for. They'll like highly upcharge that and take it from the seller. It might work. It might be a good deal for the seller who has to leave and they need to sell and they know they can get the property off their hands and they're okay with taking a little bit less. But that's not the majority of the sellers.
No.
Majority of the sellers want the most they can get at the quickest time. They're willing to wait a little bit longer for more money. So Zillow ended up buying all these properties, and
This is a good topic.
then they listed them. All they did was upcharge it. They changed I know it's funny when I go walk into the house, like Open Door too. I don't want to like name names, but Open Door. And if it's an Open Door, they sit on the market longer, man. Their listings are sitting way longer because they're wanting a certain price because all they did was change the flooring and paint the house. Dang. They don't take care of the main repairs. They're like, we're selling the house as is, and we just make it look nicer.
So it's a little. So certain
Put makeup
people
on the
will
pig,
get
and people
scammed.
realize, well, yeah, I mean, if you go to buy it and you have a good agent, you look at, oh, hey, this has a bunch of issues, or this is way overpriced than what I could get, and then they're sitting and they lost money when you have thousands of homes that are that you just bought.
So then, what happened to Zillow? Did they just?
They backed out. They completely backed out of the game. They said, hey, we're just off lifting these. Like, we're completely done with that. We're closing that side of the business.
Yeah, exactly.
There was Zillow. I think Redfin might. I don't know if they did that. But there's Zillow, Open Door, OfferPad was another one. There's a lot of them out there. They were coming out there. But that's what people were saying was, hey, this is new automation. This is going to take agents out. And no. This is a service industry, bro. This is person to person. This is a trusted service. This is not.
That's true, man.
Yeah, we're not building a car. You know what I mean? Like, you can create a automation for that.
And looking at it from a bird's eye view, like from like an outsider, like you would think that Zillow could get the job done, and to some extent, because
sure,
because they came up with a product that so many people use these days. Zillow, like the consumers use it so much,
and that's why they brought it out, because they realized
they can manipulate it. They can manipulate the prices.
Well, they have the funnel, they have the pool there, so it's like, oh, we're just gonna take y'all's business because we're selling. That's what I mean. I'm a Zillow Premier agent, right? So like, don't get me wrong, bro. I'm a Zillow Premier agent. Most of my business comes from me meeting people at like they hit that. Hey, I want to see this house. Gets connected to my team. My team says, hey, Johnny, you available on Thursday at 6 p.m.?
Of course.
Yeah, of course. I'm always available.
I'm here.
Yeah, I'll be there. I meet them, and the idea isn't to sell them that house. Now, there's been a couple of times where I met somebody and sold him $1 million house, and it was the first house I met him at, and it was like, but he'd been looking for 3 months in that same neighborhood, so he was ready to go.
Dang.
I just happened to be the guy.
Yeah.
That So like it worked out smooth, right? So that does, and then the one I'm under contract now, I met them. I met them one day and showed them 2 houses. They fell in love with the second house, and I don't pressure people. Like they'll come to the conclusion on their own. Very,
Product, the house will sell itself.
Yeah, man, the house will sell itself. So, and it did, because like it had everything, and I just pointed out, tell them what my experience, like what I see, and this is a brand new house, so it's like, yeah. As long as it has all the stuff y'all are looking for and it's the price you want, yeah, let's do it. That was the second house I showed them. We went under contract. So, but you need that person-to-person touch, right? Especially for buyers, bro. Like sellers, it's different. That's where it's a different game, where they were trying to just cut out the selling agent because they had the buyers. They had a pool of buyers ready to buy. And so they thought they could just relist these homes under their name and take a credit out.
I wanted to ask you, that's really interesting. I didn't know anything about Zillow, but I wanted to ask you on kind of the legality side of this. And I'm thinking about this because I haven't got my first home yet, but are you able to get a first home owner's loan for a house and then rent it out? Do you know anything about that?
You have to be living in the home. You have to be dwelling in it. Yeah. So like you can buy it and then rent it out while you're living there.
So you can live in half, like a duplex kind of?
Yeah, some people will convert the garage and put a kitchen in the garage.
But you have to live in it.
You got to live in it.
You can't like stay somewhere else.
Don't tell me about it.
Because before you get your...
I'll sell you it, but don't tell me what you're doing, bro.
Oh, dude, we're recording.
Yeah, hey, to me, you're living in there. To me, you're living in there. I don't know. Don't tell me that. Yeah. But if you tell me that, I got to legally... Yeah, disclose that.
I won't tell. What were you saying, Ollie?
That's a good question, though.
I was just saying, like, before you get your loan, like, they'll ask you, like, are you going to...
Yeah, that's the lender's job, right?
Yeah,
I was going to say, that's not up to me. If the lender says you're good, hey, I'll find you that house.
There's certain criteria and stuff, like, the lenders will ask, like, are you going to live here? Is this investing?
Yeah, because, that's a great question. Because if it is your investment, a lot of people don't know, as a second investment, you want to go buy that house, you got to put 20% down for a second loan. So right now, like, let's say you're first-time home buyer, right, Jack?
Yeah.
There's first-time home buyer programs. So there's T-Shack, which is for Tarrant County. They got a couple other ones. My brother got like $12,000 for his.
Where you don't have to put any money down.
Yeah, it's a grant. They basically help you pay for closing. They pay for your first down. Yeah, you gotta get approved for it. You gotta go through a little course that says, hey, I'm gonna be a good homeowner. So they basically give you a little bit of a training on how to do that, right? And then you want to make sure you're going to be living there in a certain amount of time. And then it's 3.5%. A lot of people think you need 20%. A lot of times I see only 6 to 8% as a down payment, unless they're, just paying cash, or they're moving their funds from one house to another, and they're just putting all of it into the next house. So you only need about 3.5.
Okay. Or if their credit's really bad, would that increase the down payment?
So your credit's going to increase your payment for sure. So if you have really good credit, then your interest isn't going to be as high, right, with your fees. Also 20%, I will say though, if you're not putting 20% down, you're having to pay premium mortgage insurance. So that's PMI to say, oh, y'all don't have enough skin in the game. We want to protect our asset. So we're going to put insurance on your mortgage to make sure we're getting the amount of money we need.
So is that an upfront cost or is that a monthly?
It adds to your monthly. Your PMI is going to add. So that's where it makes sense to put 20% down if you have it to avoid the PMI. So it's like, okay, that helps your payment.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
I had a question, but
first-time home buyer.
First-time home buyer. What was
it? With that grant, you'll get it and you don't have to pay it back either. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, I'll need to look into that.
What like when it comes to like a cash buyer compared to somebody who's gonna go through a lender, could you talk about like on your end, like what does a cash buyer deal look like, the time, the length, and then like what is like a loan, somebody who's going through a lender, like what's the difference between?
Yeah, man, if you got cash, I could close as fast as 10 days.
Yeah.
Like we can close.
And sellers love cash.
Oh, sellers love cash because you don't have to worry about the appraisal.
Everybody loves cash. Huh?
Cash is king, baby.
Cash.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I remember my question. So, can you talk about
Perfect.
the importance of having a good credit? You know?
Yeah, man. I mean, that's like I'm improving mine. You know, like it's very important to have good credit. Like you want to have the best of the best. Obviously, you're gonna get approved quicker, so that your process is gonna be faster. But it does like if you don't have a high enough credit, you can't afford a house, and that's what a lot of people run into. Actually, like I'm glad you brought that up because that is one of the main factors. I mean, most people don't have that down payment, but they can get the down payment. They focus on that, but then their credit's bad, and it's like, ooh, y'all focus. Like it's good that you have this money, but y'all should have been focusing on your credit. And hey, you know, it's credit, right? So not everybody can make their credit perfect, right? You get in situations where you can't pay back a loan, or you're under payments, right? And so that affects your credit. Or you've got medical expenses you haven't paid, or like there's certain things where
debt.
Yeah, credit card debt, really, especially a car loan. Car loans these days are crazy.
Well, dude, I was in the sauna this morning. This guy was like, yeah, so I went to Texas State, and back in the day, they had set up these credit card companies in, like, our dorms, like, giving us, hey, sign up for this credit card. You'll have all this free money, you know?
That is one of the biggest
Dude,
scams.
that's so dirty.
Like, the biggest scams is
but then,
the price of college right now. You want to talk about
Well,
inflation? We could talk about schooling inflation.
yeah.
They're not selling a different product. That product is barely changed. The information they got is barely changed. You can get more updated information on YouTube, bro. Like,
Bro, my brother Cal, he was like,
Exactly.
he's like, yeah, dude, I listened to your podcast, really liked it. He's like, would you ever think about going back to school, do like broadcasting or something like that? I was like,
go back to school.
I was like kind of confused. It's like, no, dude, you don't have to get a degree to do this. You know, you can learn everything from
And the thing is,
the internet.
people
Yeah,
get
man,
a degree. People get a degree to come and do this. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, people get a degree to get
they
into
don't
real
teach you
estate
this.
too. But
Well, at one point it was like, all right, you know, college
mean,
degree people they make this much more than non, but
Yeah.
there's so many paths in life.
that's like
it's changing so
yeah,
quick.
I mean, that's looking at the grand, you know, I like to think I'm not going to be doing what everybody else going to be doing, so I'm going to get different results. You know what I mean? It's like
yeah.
if you're following that same path of, you know, like, okay, that's what everyone makes because everyone's doing the same thing. But, hey, who knows? It depends on the individual touch. Like, you start broadcasting, you figure it out, bro.
Yeah.
You just stumble, like,
Trial
fell
and
forward, right? Like, some people get too much where they learn too much and educate themselves where they don't take any steps on that knowledge. And that's wasted, bro, because, like, true wisdom is acted knowledge, bro. Like, you got to act on that shit. Like, otherwise, you're a library, bro. You're a book. Books getting your work done?
Well, dude, and it's also, like, I love what you said about you got to fail forward. Did it stop recording?
No, just an event popped up. I was just checking the time.
Oh, okay.
It's all good.
Text from my bay.
Yeah.
No,
Nah.
I like what you said about failing because so my brother, he's reading this book, The 50th Law. It's written by Robert Greene and 50 Cent. It's a great book. And it talks about 50 Cent's life growing up. And he grew up in Brooklyn, right? His parents died early.
Man.
And he got involved with gang, but he treated it like a business. And
Perspective.
so it was crazy. And then he made it out through that and then rap. He got shot a bunch of times. But the point I'm making is I had someone else text me and my brother about this saying like, oh, what's that 50 Cent book about? Learning how to go bankrupt, you know? Because apparently he went bankrupt with life.
Hey, all the real successful people been bankrupt at least once.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, well, he was fearless enough to try, you know? And what are you doing?
Yeah.
And I was just like, damn. Bro.
People easily point out failures, bro.
So easily.
But if you end up succeeding, they don't care how many times you know how many shots Kobe missed.
Thousands.
He was one, bro. It's like his field goal. Yeah, he shot so many shots. He would keep shooting even though he would be cold that night.
Hey, don't disrespect the guy.
No, but that's my point. Is that no one
okay.
talks about that because he's a fucking champion. He grinded. We know that mama mentality. Like we know what he's about, right? And then he goes out of basketball and then succeeds outside of a sport. You know what I mean? Like immediately. Yeah. So that's like an attestment to, yeah, bro. Like
just go for it.
You gotta persevere and weather the storm.
You chalk that up to the game.
Chalk it.
Everybody who's been successful, bro, has failed.
Yep.
If they haven't, they're fake. They got there too fast, and they're gonna leave too fast. I believe that. If you don't put in the time, bro, if however fast you get there is how fast you'll get out. So like if it takes time, you actually build something real. Something real takes time.
It's just so true, and I feel like this podcast is like we always come back to this. Like it's just so important to go through the failures and go through the time.
Yeah,
and
man.
Go through the experience, like you said.
Take that leap.
You've been here for 7 years, bro. You know the ins and outs.
Yeah.
You bring so much value to your buyers or sellers. You provide them with so much information. Jack has been doing pods for 4 years, and he knows how to set up these microphones, set up the footage.
Yeah, I love the flow.
Edit the clips. Like the clips are so valuable. Like you know what I'm saying? It's
Absolutely.
It's just like
Credit to you. You kind of gave me the idea. You're like, we got to get it going.
it's just like
Yeah, that's
it
awesome.
makes you.
I
bro.
do love the video.
Yeah.
Thanks, bro.
Oh, the video is night
It's
and
a
day.
game changer.
Yeah.
The clips are a game changer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I got
It's
a lot
like-
of good feedback.
It's
from
like
them.
going fishing, and then they start biting.
They
on
baits them in, man.
Yeah,
They baits them
baits 'em
in.
in.
I mean, yeah, a lot of absolutely.
So,
But I think it's so important to go through, you know, the failures and trials and tribulation.
Yeah, like I mean, that's the thing. It's like you enjoy doing it, right? So that's the key. Is people you gotta enjoy it. Otherwise, you won't last.
Yeah.
That's what gets you through the long game. Is if you're doing it for a false reason that is doesn't have a lot of depth to it, like it's very hollow.
superficial.
Not pure.
Yeah, man. Like it's not you. You know what I mean? Like if
Yeah.
you don't feel you're in it, then it's not gonna last.
It'll break.
Yeah, and that's where people see like, you know, I know you love doing this. You love talking to people and
Yeah.
exploring new ideas, man. And I'm the same way. So I love listening, you know.
Yeah,
so
man.
like that brings people into it. But you're not doing it for like thousands. Like you're not trying to get fame. Like obviously it's nice and that's the goal, right? But like yeah, that's not what keeps you going. What keeps you going is I speak on this, but that's what it seems from my perspective. That's what.
Well,
it
the
seems
reason
like.
I started this whole thing was one of the reasons was I wanted to become a better communicator,
Yeah,
and
okay.
I listened to podcasts and also I really enjoyed how these two people got together and had like a long conversation.
Yeah, this
and you
isn't
got to
had
really
anymore.
understand things. I'm kind of like a slow thinking person. I need to like
Draw it out.
Draw it out. I need to
Yeah.
like think about it for a while.
I think most people are like that.
And everything else like on media and everything so fast and everything. It's kind of funny
Yeah.
because that's kind of how it's going, like the little clips. But that's kind of like the
Little
the
gems.
fish bait. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah,
exactly.
it's
And then if you
it's-
really want to learn, come to the full.
yeah, dive in.
And from somebody who's viewing it from their phone, like you're able to sit down and, you know, it's like having a conversation with a real estate agent. Like
yeah, you get to be the fly on the wall.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, like I love podcasts. Like to
Same.
be honest, like I do audio journals myself, just for
Okay.
me, just
Yeah.
to versus writing. I just talk it out and then I listen it over and it's like okay, then I can hear myself.
it's night and day difference. Like
It's crazy.
writing it down and then
It's your voice,
verbally-
bro. Your voice, bro.
the bandwidth is just
It's powerful.
It's your ear's favorite thing to hear. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and like you said, you can have conversations with real estate agents. We're talking to a tattoo artist on Sunday.
Nice.
And so it's just I feel so grateful just to learn from all these different people, and
yeah.
it's
Have
I'm
a real
excited.
conversation.
Real
man.
conversation.
Yeah,
man.
like you said, you know, this like generation and just time we're in is very quick.